We want to allow the air to be released. We just don't want to over-exaggerate it and blow all our air out. This is breath control. When you're able to build the coordination, allowing the diaphragm to ascend by releasing an energized breath and being able to sing on it, sul fiato, with the correct vocal cord adduction, then you now have all the control to do all the beautiful legato, the dynamics, and the colorings that you want. So now let's dive into the world, the enigma of Appoggio. Oh my God, this has been such a huge question to me in my studying years because every book that I opened either overcomplicated the crap out of it with all these scientific terms and trying to figure out what everything means, or I would go to a vocal teacher that completely oversimplified it and I had no idea what it meant, or I would just go to someone who just gave me wrong information. Secret. What is appoggio? What is support? Do I flex? Do I breathe in my belly? Do I breathe higher? Why do I feel support in my back, but people tell me it should be in the front? Do I flex my abs? What the hell is it? As I mentioned, I love keeping things simple, but also understandable. I think if you really understand something, you can explain it simply, and those two things tie very well together. Appoggio or appoggiare in Spanish, appoggiarse in English, to lean on or to support. It does two things. Number one, it helps us to gauge breath control. And most importantly, number two, it helps take off all the weight and pressure and stress that makes us very, very fatigued from here and engage into our body more to use our abdominal musculature along with the breath and the release to support the pressure that the operatic sound is going to demand. Much like the word lean or support, if I lean on the piano, I'm taking away my body weight from my hips and my legs and I'm putting it on the piano. So I'm giving my hips and my legs a rest. If you're an athletic guy and you hurt your knee or your ankle playing a sport and they give you crutches, you're leaning or supporting your body weight on the crutches so that you can give your leg a chance to relax and you take off the weight from your leg. In the very same way, that is what support is to the voice. It is a way to lean on something that's a bit more structured and solid than the little tiny muscles here in your neck to support the demand or the weight of singing. We're going to break down appoggio into three simple steps: inhalation, suspension, and exhalation. We do this naturally when we breathe in and we breathe out. It's just that as singers, we're going to exaggerate the process, especially the exhalation process. We're going to elongate that process. We can all do this. You do not need a second pair of lungs or a second diaphragm. You also do not need to be hitting the gym to try to build some sort of musculature here. None of that is really going to help with support because, again, it's something that we can do naturally. When you see a baby come out of the womb, the first thing they do is cry. You can see their natural diaphragmatic breathing in which their intercostals expand as they inhale. The belly is filled with air. There's a moment of suspension and then very slowly the exhalation is being elongated and they can cry and cry and cry for hours. Incredibly resonant, trust me, it never ends. And they can do this for days and days and days and they never get hoarse. They never get vocal nodules. Well, why is that? Does a baby come out of the womb with 20 years of opera experience? No, because it is a natural thing. It's one of the most natural ways of breathing, which is why I say that singing is not so much about building layers upon layers upon layers as it is more taking away bad habits that we learned as we grew up. At its core, support anchors you or grounds you to meet the demands that the sound needs to make. So you need to fix the sound. Most people think that if there's something wrong with their singing, it's because there's support. is incorrect. When it's actually the opposite. If you fix the sound, the support will get fixed automatically and naturally by itself. If you fix the sound, if you're not forcing, tugging, yelling, if you do the onset, the chord closure, the tilt, allow the vocal cords to be flexible enough to thin and extend as you ascend in the register, then the body knows how to support that sound. Our body is very much like a syringe. If you played with a syringe before, you'll realize that as you pull, there is a sort of rubber material that creates a vacuum as you pull and sucks in any liquid that you come in contact with. If you put it on water and you pull, it'll suck in the water in because it's creating a vacuum. As you push out, usually when you're injecting someone, as you push out, that same rubbery material that creates a seal or a vacuum pushes the liquid out, and usually you want to do it in a slow, resistant manner, suspending or extending the injection process. Breathing is exactly the same way, because our diaphragm is that rubber seal that you get in a syringe, in which when we inhale, it lowers and air comes in because it creates a vacuum of space that air needs to fill, and that's how we get air. And then as we exhale, the diaphragm comes up and expels the air that we have in our lungs. So this idea of us having to take a breath like an action is not necessarily true. And you can test this. Get rid of all your air. Blow it all out. Blow it all out. Blow it all out. Oh, I don't have anything. I have nothing left. Let it all go. Oh, now wait. And now breathe. Air literally just rushed in. I didn't have to mentally think, okay, now I need to take a breath, like an action. No, I expunged all my air. Diaphragm was ascended pretty much to its max. And then as soon as it lowers, it creates a huge vacuum in which air just rushes in. It just rushed in. So let's talk about those 3 points. Number 1, inhalation. As we breathe in, we can already start to create the onset. So the yawn, where our larynx lowers, but stays floated, naturally lowers. Our palate expands, and now we have the depth, that yawn. I am now speaking in my yawn. We have the column, we have the depth, and we can do that as we take the inhalation. There's the onset. Now, as we continue to do that, we want to make sure that our intercostals expand. I personally like to feel as if it was sideways expansion, but the truth is that your intercostals go all around. You're kind of like a barrel. You could feel the expansion all over your back, your sides, even a bit of your front. But I personally like to feel this sideways expansion because I know that if I feel it in my sides, it's expanding everywhere. But that's just a personal preference. Perhaps you feel it more in your back or more in your front. But the idea is that your intercostals, your rib cage, is expanding. In other words, it's a deep breath. So we have our onset, we have our ribs expanded, we're now allowing the air to fill our lungs, and we can also perhaps feel certain expansion here at the bottom, just underneath our navel cavity. And as we feel this expansion here and here, we can start thinking of this concept as if our body is being transformed into this oxygen pressure tank, or a pressure barrel of sorts. That's step 1. We've taken a deep breath, we've created our onset, we're expanding. We're also in our noble position. We never want to collapse our ribs and take a deep breath here. It's impossible. Our ribs are collapsed. We want to make sure chest is high, very military, very noble. And as we breathe, we feel that expansion. Number 2, suspension. And this is literally a very, very short phase, maybe even less than a second, in which we're literally not breathing in, but also not exhaling. We're sort of suspended. Since we're not breathing in, and we're also not exhaling, our cords right now are working as a sphincter. They're closed because they're not letting air in, and you're also not letting air out. This is a great moment to start initiating that adduction. This is also the phase where I feel I'm really grounded. This is where I'm anchored. I feel the support. If you want to further that sensation, you can do something that I like to call the belly tuck, in which you literally tuck in just the bottom part of your belly to kind of feel more of that anchoring, that support, since your lungs are now filled with air. I find that as I inhale, I expand intercostals and I do the belly tuck. I find an engagement also here, right underneath the chest area. Almost as if I could put something solid and I could feel the engagement, the resistance. Where I feel most support here. So that's step 1 and 2. Step 3 is the exhalation process, which perhaps is the most important process of them all. If you have set up the first 2 processes correctly, then the third process is merely the diaphragm now raising to let air out. However, like we mentioned previously, we do not want to force or rush air out or blow air out. We don't want that. We don't want our diaphragm to ascend rapidly in a quickly burst of air. We want to slowly release adequate amount of air in an energized manner, in a released manner, that the musical phrase demands. In other words, anytime we let out air, the diaphragm will raise. There's nothing you can do about it. If your diaphragm is not racing, you're not letting out air. It is the controlled and gauged manner in which we release the air that gives us the breath control and also the resistance to sing in an effective manner. Very much like so. I am allowing the diaphragm to raise, and I am releasing air, but I am not forcing or moving air. I am not also holding in my air or just letting a little bit of it out, which would cause your vocal cords to act like a sphincter, which is very much what powerlifters and weightlifters do. They also take a very deep breath before they lift. They also suspend. Most of them like to wear a back brace to support their back, but also feel that pressure. And when they're just about to lift, they force their cords shut, using all their neck muscles to keep all that air pressure in, so that they're able to lift heavy. You wouldn't be able to lift very heavy if you breathe all in, and then as you lift, you let all your breath out. So they're trying to keep all that pressure in. And that's why you hear all the grunting. It's just little bits of air escaping through the forced shut vocal cords and sphincter that they've created. We don't want that. We want to allow the air to be released. We just don't want to over-exaggerate it and blow all our air out. This is breath control. When you're able to build the coordination, allowing the diaphragm to ascend by releasing an energized breath and being able to sing on it, sul fiato, with the correct vocal cord adduction, then you now have all the control to do all the beautiful legato, the dynamics, and the colorings that you want. This is why I always tell people to exercise with decrescendos and crescendos. If you can phonate from a piano to a forte, back to a piano, back to a forte, allowing the air to be released, finding that soothing easiness of phonation, having those chords well adducted, then you know you have achieved mastery over that note. And then you rinse and repeat to the next half step. And you do that throughout your whole range until you're able to do that exercise from the very low of your range all the way to the very tippity highest point. Allow the larynx to naturally lower, create the yawn and the onset, lift the soft palate, take that deep breath, inhalation, and expand, achieve that suspension and feel that grounding and anchoring. Exhale in a suspended manner, adduct the cords, achieve that vocal cord adduction, which very much comes from also singing in a very falsetto manner. Never tug or be abrasive with the glottal attack, but achieve that chord adduction with the space you created, that yawn. And as you exhale, exhale in a suspended manner in which you are releasing the air, but not blowing air out, and the diaphragm is ascending steadily in an energized ray of sound. Build this pillars of foundation for your technique, and you will be able to step on any stage very confidently, whether you're fresh or feeling sick like I am, and still be confident enough that you can get through any role because you have experimented with the voice and achieved a soothing and easiness of vocal production and phonation. There is no such thing as perfection or a perfect technique. Technique is also not this magical thing that will just out of nowhere make you sing better. Technique is the process that is built with years and years and years of practicing and repetition, that if you follow the process and you check mark all the things in your list that your process demands, it will give you a result. Very much like a machine, this result will be consistency. A consistent singer will be casted and have a much more fruitful career and longevity than a singer who doesn't have any technique, who perhaps is very gifted and talented and has a lot of potential, but has no process. Do not always go for the result. Go through the process. Think of yourself like a machine. Turn on all those checks lists: yawn, onset, lower larynx, floor larynx, tensions free, inhalation, expansion, tummy tuck, suspension, exhalation. Go through all that. And the technique, the process, will yield the results. This will allow you to sing through a performance whether you feel sick or you feel unwell or you just feel off, because we're all humans and we're all made out of flesh and blood, and will still allow you to deliver a good performance. Consistency. And that is only found if you experiment with the voice. Try what you may think are unorthodox ways of phonating. Open your mind to different concepts that perhaps, if you're studying with a voice teacher, it may be something that you haven't heard from them. In the end, it's your voice, not your voice teacher's. And in the end, it's your responsibility to take your technique into your own hands and make it make sense for you. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Like always, these are just my experiences, my observations, my methodology. If you have tried these ideas and they have helped you, it makes me so happy to have helped some of you. If some of you have tried these ideas and they absolutely sucked for you, it's been the worst experience, you think I am full of crap, then please never do them again. Go with what feels good to you. Go with what makes sense to you. You will not offend me. Although for all my office friends, I do have a Dundee Award from my girlfriend and from Michael Scott himself, declaring me the world's best opera singer, Jose C. Maria Romero. But all kidding aside, if you guys enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Supporting the channel really does help me continue to create content like this. I would love to collaborate with performers and other opera singers who are taking the world's biggest stages by storm right now. For all of you watching who still have questions, continue to comment. I will be hosting a live soon where it will give us the opportunity to speak and have a dialogue one-on-one where you can ask me any questions you may have, and I will do my utmost best to try to answer them. Keep an eye out on my social media for a date and time on that. And that's it for now. Keep studying, guys. Keep practicing. Keep the art form alive. Hang in there. I bid you all addio. In bocca al lupo.